It's just a shame that Aaron's not here for this.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Is he coming back?
He was due back at 3.
Okay, look, sorry, can we just leave this one? I'll hold this paper over until Aaron comes back, because I asked the Chief Executive when I noticed that he wasn't here. But if he's coming back, we'll deal with that next. Item 29, the hearings panel report to the council on the proposed lease to the Canterbury Car Club. Who chaired this one? Was that you, Sarah? Did you chair this committee? Okay, would you like to introduce the report?
Yeah, this one's quite straightforward. There was only one objection the hearings panel had to hear, and it was best dealt with as part of the district plan. It was to do with the noise. The noise requirements under the new district plan are actually much stricter than they were under the old district plan. In fact, the car club under the old district plan could have increased its noises, which it won't be able to do now. They're much stricter, and the only change that we've put in is actually that we recommended in the original lease document. It just said that, you know, the leaseor may at any stage ask to look at all the documentation, and we've actually recommended that there is a formal annual review of that documentation to make sure that they are meeting their requirements.
Okay, so you'll move that?
Yep.
Do I have a seconder for that? Okay, Jamie? Jamie? Yep. Is there any discussion? Question?
So I'm not sure of the financials of the Canterbury Car Club, but a number of those Ruapuna organisations are quite major organisations, but still pay the same for our reserve as if they were a football club. And just in terms of the cost of the land, have we actually looked at what is reasonable to charge for a car club on a reserve?
Not under the hearings panel, because the hearings panel was dealing with the one objection, which was to do with noise levels.
Okay, so is there a staff member here that can answer the question? Jeff, welcome.
Currently the car club pays rather a low rent. We haven't agreed to a new rent as yet for the go forward. I've given them a heads up of what we would expect as being a rent, and that's based on a hectare rate similar to what the golf club pays across the road. So without sort of divulging figures, it's about 4 times what they're paying at the moment.
Have you seen the balance sheet?
No.
Okay, second question, I just think the rent should reflect the use to which it's put. It's unusual, I think, for a reserve to be used by a car club. Anyway, the second one, is there a capacity to put within the document, because the difficulty is we sign these documents for 33 years and then have problems with them, and there's nothing to allow the resolution of those problems. If there is, because there is issues with noise, and there is a division within the community about that out there, and yes, I understand there's been through the Environment Court, but if they don't meet the noise restrictions that they're under, is there a provision to do something within the lease?
That's what we're asking in review. The problem at this stage is that they haven't been under the new district plan rules for a year yet, because the district plan rules are an annual turnover of noise limits, but they actually have a noise monitor on site now, and they have been pulling cars off that breach the limit.
So if this is for 33 years.
Yeah.
So if there is major noise issues, can we do something, anything within the terms of the lease, or can we put something in so that we can? Just sort of, I like to sort things out while there is no problem, rather than after the fact.
First of all, it would be dealt through by the district plan, because if they exceeded the limits...
No, not so much.
It relies on ECAN enforcing.
Yes, that's the problem. Yes.
We actually monitor as well. The noise levels get sent into our noise monitoring. I think it's John Alps. He is actually even regularly looking at them now. So
Can we not just put in a clause that if there is persistent breaking of the noise barrier, that council has the capacity to revoke the lease or something like that, so that in 10 years' time, if it is an issue, we have some power, the then council has some power to deal with it. Wouldn't we be better to put all those provisos in now rather than wait for it to be an issue and discover that we've got another 23 years to run on the
I think there was
lease?
a previous position adopted by the council.
Yeah, exactly.
I read it somewhere in the paper. I'm just trying to find it.
There's normally a provision in these leases to exit.
I'm not, you know, I'm quite keen for something to a clause to be written in that basically defines, you know, the breach of the conditions of the lease, but a substantial and sustained breach of the noise conditions that will actually mean that will terminate.
Yeah.
You know,
It is written in the lease about the district plan, and it refers to the district plan and the noise levels.
Yes, I know,
Yeah,
but persistent breaches don't seem to always get
Dealt with.
yeah, what's the word? Pursued with as much vigour as some of the people that have to listen to the noise would expect.
All right, jump in. Would it help if we got a copy of the clause and maybe delayed this till later in the meeting and got you the copy of those the specific clauses that are there already, then if they need further beefing up, we can look at that.
Yeah, is this time constrained?
Yeah, it's in the report.
Okay, so
I'll just
which
have a
clause
try
is it?
finding the clause number.
There's nothing about breaching that I can see the consent in the cancellation under clause 19. So there is reference to it in terms of the lease that they shall comply, but in terms of cancellation, there's nothing that I can see that is covered there, and I think that would certainly give us a bit more comfort. If they're breaching the consent, you know, then there is an opportunity to cancel. No, that's like...
No, they don't.
If you don't have any cancellation clause, then good luck trying to get them to...
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, yeah, my experience is that we sometimes are very generous with our leases and we forget to put in all of the ifs and buts and maybes that can happen. And I'd much rather sort of have a really strong provision in the lease document so we have some grunt.
Look, could we just... does this need to be signed off today?
Well, no, it's been going on for quite a while, so yeah.
I mean, I'd rather just perhaps flick it to later on in the meeting, because I think I did notice Ian Thompson scratching his head before, so that might mean an indication of a contribution that he'd like to make from a legal point of view. It may not. It might just mean he's got an itchy scalp.
I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I think we'll just take a minute, because if we could write a provision in there which talks about, you know, sustained and significant, because you wouldn't want to do it like if there was the occasional breach, but
But those kind of terms themselves are actually not specific enough, and we found that with ECAN when it comes to, for example, odour controls. It talks about, you know, offensive, and those kind of subjective terms are really hard to enforce. So we would need a much more specific thing, such as the conditions under the district plan, to be able to tag them to. So the district plan conditions actually have specific numbers of breaches and those kind of things that are monitored by the noise monitor. And there is a thing in here that when we're monitoring the review of the complaints log, the track logs, all of those kind of things, we could put it under 16.1 of them, because we're going to be checking those annually. But if there are more complaints that we're seeing earlier that come through, say, for the community board, that could be reviewed. Because there is still the whenever we like, we can check all their logs. But those kind of subjective terms are actually really hard to enforce.
Yes, that's why I think we should get the right wording.
well, look, can you guys have a look at it, because what this document says is that these new district plan provisions negate the need for additional controls through the lease. But it seems to me that the lease doesn't come to an end, even if there's breach.
But I mean, the thing is,
Sustained breach.
if they breach the consent conditions and they're not able to operate, but they still have the lease, they're still not operating, and that's stopping the noise, and they're going to want to stop that to be able to continue operating. The whole point for them is to be operating. But we could add something in 16.1 where it says that they shall comply with the provisions of all statutes, ordinances, regulations, requirements of the applicable district plan.
So
maybe in 16.2 we say that, we could, review the lease should they not be doing it.
well, any sustained and whatever ongoing breach and persistent breach of the provisions in the district plan will result in the termination of this lease.
Not result in termination, but if you do
Could.
that, any breach will be reviewed.
Yeah.
Could.
Would give the lessor the right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would cut out the word sustained. I would just say the breaches.
Well, I don't
Mean that we
mind
review
what
it.
words you put in, but I just want some mechanism for 33 years of noisy motor racing.
Yeah. Could we leave
Bring
you
that back
to,
here.
just to do some wording, and we'll go back to the accessibility charter now that Aaron's arrived. So your colleagues said that you should be here for the discussion on that, which I'm very happy with. Sorry, Jeff.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Ian will just write your clause.